Dear Diary.
Dear Diary.
Dear Diary, wow, today was a really hard day.
Dear Diary, I find sometimes my life can be hard.
Dear Diary, it will pass and it will be okay.
Dear Diary, I feel like today is going to be...
Shh, the Indigo Diaries. Dear Diary, welcome world to the Indigo Diaries. First, let me introduce you back to our Series 1, The World Through Your Eyes, with me, Natasha Hickling. The Indigo Diaries is a podcast for those who want to learn about ADHD through others' experiences. Thanks, everyone. Welcome back. And thank you for coming in and listening. And if this is your first time, then welcome back. And if you're listening again, then welcome. And welcome back to Series 1. And wow, it feels such like a long time since doing this. I think it's been about 6 months, so I'm really excited. So just a reminder that you will be getting a lot more guests in this series. And as I'm starting this and Series 3, and I'm really, really, really excited to announce my first guest back. And this guest is actually a friend of mine. I actually met him on my Adka course last year. So, and we actually became learning partners straight away. And still 6 months after the course, we meet as learning, or we call it verbal processing partners. So I'm really excited to welcome a fellow coach and another brave and courageous person once again coming on to speak their story with the world. So I welcome Seth.
Hey, Tasha, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Okay, so let me tell you a bit about Seth. Seth is 20 years old. He's a junior in a college and legally not allowed yet to drink in the US. He lives in Chicago, Illinois. He has a passion for education and ADHD. Now, he has started a business called 180 HD Coaching, where he's working with all ages and all backgrounds. He's currently building his website, which is accessible to support people from all backgrounds and all abilities. And if you would like the full bio, please see the description below and all of Seth's contact details, which are in the description. So I'm really excited to have you, Seth. So where do you want to begin today?
Thanks for having me again. I don't know. Let's start with just I don't know. Whatever sounds good. How about well, I'll tell you guys a little bit about myself. So I live in Chicago. I got diagnosed with ADHD when I was a junior in high school. And I'll tell you guys a little bit more about that later. But my family also, most of them have ADHD undiagnosed until recently. And I met Tasha through the Adka program, and she's been one of my best friends talking about, stuff like this since then. And I'm just really excited to get into talking about all this. So let's see. Let's start with I guess the reason I got into coaching was because I was, diagnosed with inattentive ADHD my junior year of high school. But basically what I got at that point was like I didn't receive any coaching. I was just given some prescriptions from my pediatrician, and I got sent off to college with like very, very high expectations, at least on myself, and a lot of expectations from the people around me, because I felt I went to very high performing middle school and then high school, and then it was supposedly like a very intense high performing college in the United States. And I was going on a scholarship, and basically by the end of my first semester of college, I was like calling my girlfriend on the phone one like late night, and I was at the point where I was like crying because I felt like I just didn't fit in there at all, and I wasn't getting the support that I needed at the time. And I just felt I felt very like broken, and from that point I started working with everybody that I could at that school who were supposedly experts in dealing with people with ADHD and supporting them. That was part of the reason I chose to go to this school. as well. And, because I read online that these people were like really able to support people like me and stuff. But I think what drew me to coaching basically was just understanding that they weren't able to support me, even though they really wanted to. And I needed to support myself, and educate myself on this stuff. And I think that's really what inspires me to work with people moving forward of all ages, all backgrounds, because there's a lot of information out there that's not really helpful and not true about ADHD. And I've experienced a lot of that growing up through school. And so now I'm going back to school next year as a junior, and I have a very different perspective on things. I was studying classes remotely this year, and that was very tough, but I made it. And a big part of the reason why I was able to make it through was because I was taking the classes at Adka on top of the college classes, and learning to accept my brain and just like how it works and what I'm interested in and kind of who I am. And there was a ton of support from the older generations in Adka too, just like seeing me coming up and struggling with some of the things they were struggling with. So
So I want to come back to your diagnosis and talking about that later, but what is it, do you think about, I think it's amazing, that, about the Adka thing, that you would have thought that on top of all your stuff would have made you swamp, but the fact that it really helped you kind of get through your remote learning. What is it about Adka that really kind of, helped you support you?
It's a good question. I mean, I think just the fact that in the classes, I could relate to almost everything that people were saying, and that we were learning. It was like the class was literally speaking what I've been feeling the whole time, without having the words to say it. So it was basically giving me the words to say it. And even though I wasn't entirely comfortable with advocating for myself, with professors and my, just my friends and people that I was, my family and stuff, I was still at least trying. And instead of beating myself up, which emotionally, beating myself up for not being what I thought I should be, I was kind of trying to take steps towards defending myself and understanding myself with Adka. Wow,
incredible. I'm glad they bought that for you, and it bought you me as well. No, you're joking. So let's go back. What about your diagnosis? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I think, well, even before I got diagnosed, I 3 or 4 years before my diagnosis, I remember talking to my mom one summer when we were visiting family, relatives somewhere in the United States, and I told her, I think I have some type of processing issue or something. I didn't have the words to describe it, but I felt just slower than the people around me, and I was always missing what they were saying, and I had to try 3 times as hard just to stay in conversations with people. So we went back to my school that was supposedly a very high performing school that I tested into, and they were like, well, his grades are fine, and he seems to be doing okay. Maybe he just needs to get more sleep and use a binder and stuff. And it was just a quick fix that they tried to give to me. And so then I struggled for 3 or 4 more years of school until I was taking the ACT and the SAT, which, for those who don't know, it's a standardized test to get into college in the United States. Now it's becoming more and more optional. But at least, when I was taking it, it wasn't. And so I was going to tutoring and like just taking it over and over. And I kept not being able to finish on time. But the tutor that I was working with was like, he was telling my parents, I've worked with a lot of kids and like, I don't understand what's going on with him. Like he's like getting the right answers, but it's just, he's not able to finish. And so he was like, maybe take him to this person, this like, researcher, doctor person to get him tested for something, maybe a learning disability or something. And that was the first like legit bit of information that we got about getting me tested for ADHD. And then it was like a 3-day long test. I couldn't drink coffee, which was horrible.
Oh my.
I mean, like I didn't have to sleep over there. It wasn't like but like it was just every morning, wake up at 8 a.m., finish at 3 p.m. And then I ended up having, they told me I had inattentive ADHD, which like is, usually I've learned from just, learning now that inattentive ADHD usually is diagnosed later than the hyperactive kind, because it comes out more when there's more pressure put on your executive functions. And at that point, like all the executive functions that it takes to sit down in a 2-hour test and answer like 300 questions and write an essay and stuff is just crazy. So of course my brain wasn't able to do that,
I can see why.
So that's kind of how like I just hit that point. Yeah. So I got the inattentive ADHD diagnosis, and I was kind of just like, dang, that explains so much. Because I knew it like 4 years before. I knew something was up, and also on top of that, there was also a reading disability diagnosis that came with that. And yeah, ever since then, I've just been trying to understand that and navigate like, a lot of stigmas with the educational system.
So what sort of stigmas do you mean?
Well, I guess just like the stigmas that I was kind of dealing with and feeling were just like that I wasn't smart because I couldn't answer questions quickly, or my mind would just like blank when people would ask me questions. And I would never be able to finish any readings that I was assigned, like no matter how hard I tried. And anything I tried in school, it felt like it took way more effort. And on one end of like one side of my life, my friends and family and just people that are trying to support me are saying like, you're really smart. You just gotta, I know you can do it. Like you understand a lot of cool, deep things or whatever. And then on the other side, like my executive functions are not allowing me to do anything. And it just felt like laziness. Like I needed to work harder. And like, I guess just the belief behind all that was kind of just that it was just that I needed to put in more effort. And that like, I just needed to change my mindset or, meditate more or sleep more. And I really was doing all those things. In high school, I would get like 9 or 10 hours of sleep every night. Like I would come home after sports practice. I was very disciplined about sleep. Like I would eat dinner, do my homework, fall asleep, then wake up at the time I had to go, get ready for school again. And and nobody really saw that behind the scenes. It was just like they would see somebody who's tired in class and who's maybe quiet and nice, and then I struggle again. So yeah, there's a lot behind the scenes, I guess.
Yeah. They never, that's the thing, isn't it? People see you as this kind of tired, or they're not paying attention, and they don't think about how many hours you've spent, preparing, stressing, worrying, and everything else like that. So do you think that the ADHD diagnosis kind of helped in any way change kind of your own view on yourself?
Yeah, it definitely changed it. In some ways for the better, and in some ways for the worse, I think. Like it helped me in that it was like I understood there was something happening. Like my brain was different. That was what it kind of just let me know, but it didn't. I guess the ways that it kind of negatively affected me was just that it kind of, I felt like it isolated me, and that nobody really understood me. Like my senior year of high school, I was before I found out about, the coaching, like programs and stuff, and learning about this, I was trying to figure out how to like manage it, and how to have relationships with people, how to like balance work and school and all that, and I just felt very like alone in it, because the diagnosis basically, without the right information, made me feel like I was just the odd one out. So yeah, it definitely helped in some ways, but also didn't in other ways.
Yeah. So when you get that diagnosis and you look at that sheet, and it's literally like all the things, it is great. But when you look at it, it's kind of like all the things that are kind of, all your challenges in one document, isn't it? It's kind of like all the challenges of your ADHD, and it is very negatively quite influencing. What do you think has been, since kind of your diagnosis, has been like the positive things that have come out of it?
Yeah, well, I think just before I answer that, like just adding on to what you were saying about all the negative things on a sheet of paper, it's like the way diagnoses, I feel like the way they work are just from like a deficit standpoint.
Yeah.
Like we're diagnosing you as this because you're not, because in our scientific, standard or whatever, you are not meeting the numbers. And it's like okay, like that's a interesting way of describing it, but it feels very real, when you're being told that. But I think, I guess some of the positive things that came out of it were just like having more meaningful interactions, even on a day-to-day basis. I feel like I've learned to be a lot more myself, and not feel like I need to put up a front of like acting like I'm always having a good time even when I'm exhausted, or like going along with what everybody else is doing, even though it's just like not exciting for me or for my brain or whatever. And like, yeah, I guess it helped me do that somehow. It just, it helped me realize that I was different, but also that there's things that I do enjoy, and not just that I'm broken, if that makes sense. Like, not just that I'm I'm not able to do the things that are on that piece of paper, but also that like those traits that I have, like the trait of ADHD that I have, is just it lets me see life through a different perspective that's just kind of cool, you know?
Yeah, I like that. It lets you see life through a different perspective. I've never heard that before. That's a really kind of nice saying. See life through a different perspective. That's really nice. So
Thank you.
Yeah, you're so right about the diagnosis and the bit of paper. It's like a tick sheet. You can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. So I remember you mentioning about that you have the inattentive presentation, and I know we talked about before about how sometimes that's more diagnosed in girls than it is in boys. I just didn't know if you wanted to speak a little bit about that.
Yeah. So it's interesting because like it's the hyperactive kind is more diagnosed in boys, and then the inattentive kind is more diagnosed in girls. And like, I guess realizing that, I was just like really frustrated because I've always felt like a very, very sensitive person growing up. And even today, like I value that about myself, but as a boy growing up, when you see like, or at least when I saw the other boys around me that were like kind of being rewarded for being like more outgoing and like the energetic ones, and like that was just kind of like a gender role that I was feeling with and just having the inattentive diagnosis kind of explained, like, not that I want to be that way. I never really did want to be that way, but there was just a lot of pressure and weird feelings around that I didn't know why I was so different. And I think, yeah, since a lot of guys aren't diagnosed with inattentive ADHD, and a lot of girls also aren't diagnosed with hyperactive, like it can just make you feel pretty bad, you know? Yeah, so I really feel for people who are not diagnosed in that way, because it's, I don't know how to describe it. My mind's kind of blanking right now, but yeah.
No, so good. That happens a lot. I don't know about you or any of the listeners, but that happens to me a lot. I'm like, I've got an idea, but what? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully it will come back. It will come back, hopefully.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to maybe we're going to take a break now anyway. We're going to take that moment of the mind going blank to take a break, and hopefully we'll probably end up talking over the break, and we'll come back with hearing more about Seth's story. So we'll join you after the break, and we're out. If you would like any more information on Indigo Hub or our Indigo support group, then please check out our website below, or our link to our social media platforms, or email at indigohub.adhd@gmail.com. If you would like to offer any comments, feedback, get support, or if you're interested in the world hearing your story, then please reach out through any of our avenues. As said before, have a positive week. Check in again later. And we're out. Shh, the Indigo Diaries. And we're back. And before the break, if you didn't join us before the break, then rewind now. But if you would like to join us now, I'll give you a bit of a recap. We were talking to Seth. So Seth is my friend that I met through Adka, and he's an ADHD life coach. And he was telling us about his story of his journey of ADHD. So, welcome back, and we are back. We took a bit of a break, and with every guest that I always speak on here, a break is usually meant to be like 5 minutes, which turns into about 20 minutes. But that's because we like to talk and we get off topic, and then we come back. But we know where we're going to start again. So, welcome back, Seth.
Hey, welcome back to you, everybody listening. Just did some push-ups and went to the bathroom and got some water and talked with Tasha. So it was a good break.
Nice. You ready to get back started?
Yeah, ready.
Cool. So in the break, we ended up talking about something, and then we were like, oh, that would be really good. Let's start recording. So we're going to get back to that. So before the break, we were talking about kind of your inattentive, your you getting diagnosed and things. So let's go to the college. So you're at college now. Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah. So basically, like when I got there, I mean, not the day that I got there, but just in general, when I've gotten to college and started getting used to it, like, I mean, there's a lot of older people who are professors and just who are supporting in the academic resource center and different programs like that are kind of trying to help us, undergrad college students figure things out. And I guess like I've found for the most part that at least at my school, they're more set in ways that have worked for them, and that like I guess kind of like that they understand and like on paper maybe that help students, but I like the things that they were saying to me and just the strategies that they were trying to get me to use were like I was like very confused and beating myself up because those they would tell me like use a paper calendar and just block it out like this time, and I'm an ADHD, I'm a PhD psychologist and this is gonna work, and like they weren't really listening. So yeah, shout out to those people at my college. And so yeah, I guess like what I'm trying to do coaching now is really connect with the people who are like Tasha and I were talking about in the break, like teenagers, young adults who are still trying to figure things out, and who have kind of their own unique struggles. Like there's a lot of focus in just the ADHD world on like, helping like coaches helping parents of ADHD families, or, maybe they do have ADHD, or, helping young children. And I think that's very important. It's very important work. And at first I was thinking like, I want to be doing one of those two fields. I want to be helping either the older people or the younger people. But then I kind of realized like I could embrace the younger and like more confused side of myself, and trying to figure things out side of myself. And I've been realizing that that's something that's really, really there, even though it might not be like covered in a lot of I don't know, like even like at Adka, like they've been amazing, but I feel like from my experience, there was a lot more focus on the older groups and the younger groups, and not as much on the teenagers. And just, I mean, speaking from my experience right now, like this is a very important time, this age for ADHD. Like, people can get into drinking, to like drug addiction very, very easily, because they're just trying to, it's self-medication basically. And I've seen friends struggle with that, and that still are struggling with that kind of stuff. And also like, we don't know what we want to do at this age, really. We don't know, like there's a lot of self-comparison, and, my dad will just tell me like, I know he's just supporting me in any way that he can. and just my parents in general, like, and older people that give me advice, they tell me, like, embrace the fact that you're young, and like, nothing's coming to my mind exactly, but they don't necessarily get, or maybe remember what it's like to go through stuff like this with ADHD, and especially now with technology and everything. So that's kind of just where I'm at right now. I'm trying to focus on that group of people.
Yeah, it's an area where we would say another break that is kind of missed. And it's I call it like the transitional years, right? So you're transitioning from a kid to a teenager, then a teenager to an adult, and then like a young adult to like an older adult. And it's hard. And there's so much, you go to college, you have to get a job, you have to move out. That all includes executive functioning, doesn't it? It all includes it. And then it's a very confusing time. You're figuring out who you are. It's just so many different layers in this. So I think it's amazing that you want to kind of get into that field. So why do you think that, what do you think that's going to look like kind of going into that field?
I think it's going to be very interesting. Like, it's something that I'm still trying to figure out myself. So I think I'm going to be kind of growing along with the people that I'm working with in a lot of ways. And I think it's going to be like, trying to decide either, when you're moving out, where you're moving out to, like figuring out strategies to save money, like little things that a lot of people feel guilty about and hide a lot, and also just maybe don't even want to acknowledge. Like, somebody gets a parking ticket and they don't even know what the first thing to do with it is. And there's this one scene in the show New Girl where it was so relatable. This guy, he has like a box of parking tickets that he just stashes under his bed because he's just too afraid and like overwhelmed to do anything with them.
Brilliant.
And, like, especially if your parents have ADHD, which is, ADHD is highly hereditary, like as much as height is. So we learn a lot of interesting habits from our parents and ways of dealing with things. And so I guess like it's going to be a lot of questioning those things, and defining what our own ways of dealing with things are based on like who we are as individuals. And yeah, it is a lot of transitioning, so that's pretty much it.
I like that, with your own way of doing things. And that's obviously, like you said about your university, where it was kind of their way of doing things, so it's the own way of doing things. So what's kind of, what would you say that your own way of doing things to like kind of manage your ADHD right now are?
Well, it's a good question.
I put you on the spot, haven't I?
I guess like, well, yeah, my own way of doing things, I guess, would be just like talking to people who are my age, and my personal way of doing things, I guess, is like being very self-reflective and talking through a lot of things, and finding people around me that like you, Tasha, and like just people that I can talk to, and then like literally like there are some coaches that I've kind of talked to and worked with out there that like haven't really supported me in doing my own thing, and trying things in my own way. And I think there's, maybe some like innocence that I have in my perspective, with how I want to do things, and like I don't really have a preconceived idea of what I should be doing. And also I kind of forget when people tell me, and I'm not really emotionally invested in it because working memory. And so a lot, and like after college, get into renovated into like a nice home, with like a full bed and kitchen and stuff, and it's something that I've always been really passionate about, just like being able to move around and be free and not be weighed down to a lot of debt, and I think that's something that my parents and just people are a bit skeptical of at first, but I think that yeah, just, I don't know, my way of doing things is maybe more living in the moment and kind of trying to connect with people, basically.
Do you think that that's, do you think that I really like that your own way of doing things, and sometimes, coaches, it's kind of more of how they do it rather than what you do, and that's fine. That's some people's approach, but I really like that. Do you think that that's what you're going to bring to kind of your coaching field?
Yeah. So I thought that was a good question, just because, like, I don't know, I've never really thought about that. Like, I guess like, I think I'm going to bring, my own like way of connecting with people, and like kind of doing my own thing to my coaching, because a lot of people don't really see that it's okay to try those things. I don't know anybody my age that has tried to, do anything like remotely similar to what I'm doing. I've heard of, older family friends doing it, because, we have some very ADHD family friends and connections, and they're awesome, but like they had a career kind of already set up, and then they just decided to go and live in a van and stuff, and it's very different. But like I don't know, like I think I definitely do want to bring my own way of doing things into coaching, but at the same time I want to bring my like listening and understanding of like trying to understand people into my coaching. Like I think it's a big part of who I am to be just really like sensitive and think about people to a point where it might be considered too much, or like overly sensitive. At least that's what I felt a lot before. But I'm embracing that as kind of part of who I am now, and I think that's kind of what we need more in the world. So yeah, I'm happy to bring that to coaching along with my way of doing things,
Yeah, I really like that. I like that you said that, like sometimes it can be perceived as oversensitive, but you've kind of embraced that part of yourself.
Yeah.
Do you think you've done that with other parts of your life as well?
Yeah, I mean, like I guess just going off of that, like growing up in Chicago and stuff, and in my family, we've there's a lot of just messed up stuff in Chicago, and politics and violence and stuff, and like I think like I'm a more quiet quiet person, so I'm not going to go and like talk somebody's ear off about politics or things like that. But I think I'm just accepting that my way of doing that kind of stuff is just different. It's kind of a more quiet way of leading people. And yeah, I guess like in other areas of my life, like with my girlfriend, definitely. We've been dating for like 3 years now, which is what, like 15% of my life or something.
Wow.
Feels
Good
like a long
maths.
time. It's been basically since like high school. And so like, I guess, even just accepting myself in relationships, and how I am maybe more quiet or thoughtful or slower, like a more like not more like I'm better, but like just different. I'm a different thinker, and accepting that, and like my relationship with my girlfriend has grown a lot because we've both kind of learned to accept that. And sometimes it can be hard to accept that when you still have all these like beliefs and ideas of what you should be, but she's been great in kind of supporting me, like to believe in that part of myself. And also just like maybe she's not as sensitive in some ways, which is nice to have her perspective on things, and just and to hear her like kind of like give me a reality check sometimes about about things that I'm like questioning myself in, and also just giving me the space to figure that out. So yeah, all that going to say, just I think I'm evolving in a lot of different ways emotionally, through that like understanding of myself.
Wow. I love that acceptance thing, that acceptance of kind of, that it is hard, but, this is kind of who you are. And it's really nice. And it does make a difference when you have that supportive person there, that kind of you accept them and they accept you, and kind of you together, but you accept every part of each other, right?
Yeah. And like I feel like it's somebody told me once, like you can accept part of yourself, or you can embrace it and just like feel really good about it. And I'm like, okay, but that's not like, I don't feel that way all the time, because it's a trait. It's like a characteristic, and it can be a strength in some circumstances. It can benefit the world. It can benefit me, everybody in some situations, but then it can also be seen as a weakness. And like it's not something that you can be, like I guess I'm just like, if somebody told me, just embrace it completely, it's like, yeah, I get that, but I need to embrace it in a way that is like kind of seeing it as a trait, and like it can be positive and it can be negative, but I still care about that aspect of myself. So
yeah, it's we're human, ain't we? We're human, right? Even though we like to think that we're perfect, and we especially with ADHD, we want to be that, but it's very an up and down.
And like that reminds me of something that we talked about in Adka, which is like doctors talk about self-esteem as being one of the most important things, and they think that's a really just healthy thing to have. But like self-esteem is a lot based on your environment, and your characteristic traits are just part of who you are, and accepting that is like, it's not like unconditional self-esteem.
So what's next for you? Because I know you were in the description, you were saying about your website. So do you want to tell us a bit about how, I love how you said that you make it accessible for all. So do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah. So I guess I feel like I'm using my my sensitivity, and I am embracing it in this environment of like creating this website, because um I've always struggled with like just reading things, even when I'm looking for support for my reading disability and how to get through it. Like I can't read the things that get me to that thing. So um, I've made it very like reading disability accessible um, by reading most of the things aloud, like blog posts that I have or little bits of information. Um, I'll read it aloud and then have a little play button above that post so that people can hit that and hear it read to them in like a human's voice. And maybe like people consume information and understand it and in different modalities in different ways. So I thought that was that was one way that I was just making it more accessible, and I tried to make it very visual too. And I haven't made it bilingual yet in English and Spanish, but I do speak Spanish, and I'm hoping to make it like translatable, and maybe hopefully there will be technology for like making all languages able to read it with like something that people can understand. There's a lot of technology hacks out there that you can use to like have a document read to you or change the language or whatever, but like I want people who are like really struggling to be able to access the information like really easily and quickly, because I think I don't want to create any more barriers than there already are, to getting this support.
Oh, wow. I love that. I think that's amazing. When I first heard you say that, I thought it was incredible anyway, but I'm just going to say it again. I think it's really cool because there is a lot, like you said, there's a lot of technologies out there, but if you don't have them or if you don't know how to use them, and then they're also quite expensive. So if you've not got that, so you kind of making it easier for people, to kind of make that first step. And that's really incredible. And sometimes the computer voice, when you hear that back, is not always the best voice. Human voices clearly are the best voices, right?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Unbiased.
Yeah.
Voices are better.
Unbiased to be. So what's next for you, Seth?
Well, right now, like today, I was recording some videos of like short 1-2 minute videos of myself explaining like little concepts about ADHD, like the fact that there's hyperactive type ADHD, inattentive, and just little things that I find that like 99% of the people I talk to don't know about ADHD. Making little short, easy to understand videos and posting that on my website. And then I guess I'm going back to college very soon in like 10-15 days. And I'm interested to see how things play out there with, the people that I wasn't really feeling too supported by on my campus. And like, just the kind of system that was maybe trying to support me, but that wasn't able to. So I'm taking also different classes this semester than I did my first year, because I understand just a lot more about myself and what I need. So I'm taking classes more based around that, and I'm like part of me feels like I quote unquote should be taking more rigorous classes, and that I should be a better student on paper. But I mean, I'm going back to college and doing it in my own way, and I think I'm going to enjoy that. And and a professor, my advisor that I had freshman year, told me that the college didn't need to change for me, but that I needed to change to fit into the college and just how they do everything. And this is like an expensive $75,000 a year school. I'm getting a scholarship to go there, but it's ridiculous. Like how you're going to spend all your money on sports facilities and not to fit the students. Like it's pretty crazy. So I'm going back to that, and I'm going to do college in my own way. And yeah, I'm excited to find people out there that are looking for some support. And I'm also really looking forward to getting into starting to work with clients that I'm coaching, like really getting the business underway, and hopefully it's going to pair well with my college experience and how I'm living it. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to it.
Wow. I think it always comes back to this thing that I've actually written it down, your own way. I think that's just a really nice way. And I mean, I could comment a long time about colleges and schools, but I won't go into that. But wow, $75,000. And that's what they said. Yeah, they try and make you fit into them rather than fitting the system around you, right? And adapting the system to fit you. It's always fit the human into the thing. But wow, that could be a whole podcast by itself. We'll have to call you back for that one.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
But it sounds really exciting, and I like that the thing about your own way, and I think that you're going to make a difference in a lot of people's lives with your very, very unique perspective. And I think that, especially that age range or other age ranges, and I hope it works out for you. And the listeners, I really, 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 really recommend that you go onto Seth's website, which I've posted below. It's incredible. So go on there and check it out. And anything that you kind of want to leave our listeners with?
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on the podcast again. And I guess what I want to leave people with is something that I would have wanted to hear, which is just that, like, if you feel like you're too like you're too sensitive, or if you care too much, if you feel that you care too much, it could just be your environment that's really kind of just like gaslighting you. And I'm not saying that's always the case, but like, make sure you trust yourself and you have people around you that you trust to support you. And like, one day when you've maybe figure things out or are more supported, like, that sensitivity is going to be appreciated more. And even if it's not in the moment, it's still like, hang on to that. So yeah.
Thanks, Seth. That's one of my favorite flower quotes. Don't change the flower, change the environment. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, Seth, for coming on. And it was an absolute pleasure to have you as a guest, and especially to have you as our first guest back. So yet again, we leave everyone with another inspirational diary, and someone that maybe you can relate to in many ways. And I think a lot of people will be able to relate in many ways. And I just want to say, as we finish today's episode, to reach out to us or to Seth if you need help, and to reach out if you would like to get help, if you would like to hear your story, because it can make a huge difference. Sharing your story, people listening to your story can give that one person that piece of hope. And look out for next week as we drop into series 3. Another episode on, and hopefully we'll see Seth again for series 3 in the future, The World Through Our Eyes. So thanks again, Seth, and Thanks to everyone. And have an amazing week, everyone. And we'll see you soon. And we're out.
Dear diary.
Dear diary.
Dear diary.
Today is ending. I'll check in again tomorrow.
Tomorrow is a brand new beginning.
Good night. Sweet dreams.
I think tomorrow will be
Shh.